Let's go. Game time.
Welcome, everybody, to the Better Baby Daddy podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, John Laxman.
Co-host Kelly Burgess.
And today we're going to dive into some personal stories, give you some background on who we are and why we are sitting here in front of you.
Yep.
Kelly's going to take it away. He's going to explain a little more as well.
Yeah, so, we're here to tell some stories to, we're on the front end of this podcast journey. And as we say all the time to one another, and we want to reiterate to you, we're not experts in this. We are two guys on a journey trying to be better dads every day. And we happen to be dads who, at least at one point, did not have, we're not in the same household as our kids. And so we know that that can be a challenging place to navigate. So the stories we're both going to share today, hopefully you find yourself in them. And if you do, just know in subsequent episodes, we'll have some advice and some things that helped us. But the stories today are some tough stories, but they're real. And we wanted to make sure you knew we were coming from a place of humility and not looking from high on down, right?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So my three stories are Toy Story, a $2 paycheck, and the diner. And so the Toy Story is back several years ago. Made some bad decisions as a husband, made some bad decisions as a dad. Just did not, as a man, put my family in a position where they were protected financially, physically, materially. And so we found ourselves in a situation where we were being evicted. Very, very tough day. I had to call the wife at work, let her know that, hey, there's nothing we can do to walk it back. Sheriff's already here. The movers have descended on our place like locusts. All our stuff's packed up. It's out on the street, and we got to find another place to live tonight. And so that night, fortunately, we had a family friend who had a house nearby and had a basement where we could stay until we kind of got ourselves situated. So I remember that first night, John, staying in the basement, and the basement had a living area and then these little, rooms adjacent to that living area, like laundry room and, storage room and stuff like that. And so my family that evening was in the living area sleeping. And then I was relegated to this other room, which was the family's toy room. And the whole floor, the room was probably 8x8, and the whole floor was just covered with toys, action figures, Legos, cars, balls, just everywhere. So, I'm 6'2", we're both tall guys. So you can imagine you're in a small room, and I had to basically do like a snow angel to kind of clear the space. So I'm not laying like on top of toys. And I remember it being dark, the house is quiet, my wife's not feeling me, my kids are fearful, and thinking that's the lowest spot that I can ever remember being as a man. Like, you have no answers and your family's just exposed. And I remember, I was a man of faith there, but I didn't do a man of faith things. And so it led me to this situation where my family was in jeopardy. And so I remember thinking and asking God, what am I going to do? I had no answers. I was just knocked down, flat, stripped down. And I just remember having to, lean on him and then think, okay, tomorrow I got to take a step in the right direction. So, but I remember that feeling of just having no answers. And as a man, we're fixers, right? Problem comes up. It's like, hey, we're already, thinking about solution, but I had no solution. So, fortunately, with some guys that I knew at my church, reached out to a couple of them, reached out to a couple personal friends. And, it might have been a meal. It might have been, let's meet this ministry. They can get you, some things where you can get started on some side gigs and stuff like that. But that network really helped kind of pull me from a really dark period to, okay, here's the next, like we talk about, the next best dad move you can make.
Right.
But the Toy Story is a really, laugh about it now, but it was, I don't ever want to go back there. And I don't want another man to ever experience something like that. So, so we share that. So if you see yourself in that, you can know there's a way out.
Right. So quick question for you. And I've heard you speak about this before.
Right.
And every time you speak about it, I'm just like, dang. And I feel myself in that room moving the toys. But you said something today that I had not really thought of because, we tend to think of ourselves in those moments, right?
Yeah.
But you said my kids were fearful. Can you speak to that and how that impacted you?
Looking back on it, I didn't, having conversations with them as adults now.
Yeah.
And having had to do subsequent moves after that to finally get righted. I knew just my daughter at the time was probably in middle school. and she just was emotional, like, like numb, like the opposite of emotional, like shut down, wondering what to do. My youngest son was struggling on the spectrum and, just kind of coming out of being nonverbal and just beginning to talk. So it was a really kind of critical period in their life. And I just remember them, looking to their mom for like answers, like, this guy, he kind of satisfied. And just, I mean, you can tell when your kids are scared. I just remember, just them not being themselves, being more inward, not being in a position where I could confidently say, hey,
Yeah.
that's what we're going to do. Pretty painful time, no doubt.
Man, that pain is.
Yeah. So second story is another painful time, painful in the sense of the reality of a situation hitting you. Not painful like, oh, woe was me, but it's like, when you make decisions and, you have kids and then the relationship doesn't work and the kids still need to be taken care of and you're not in the house, well, it's not uncommon for your partner to say, hey, I'm going to need some financial remuneration from you. I'm going to need some help.
Yeah.
Just the next situation, the $2 paycheck was just that. Hey, relationship didn't work, and the partner went and filed child support. And this was back in the day. This was a long time ago,
Okay.
right? And this was back in the day where it was paper paychecks. Like you had to tear the sides off, and then that was like your check. You took that thing to the bank.
Right.
And I remember, child support, the threat of child support was like this, like kind of theoretical thing, like, oh, then I got that check one day.
Oh, this is very
and it said like $2.58. I was like, wait, this got to be a typo. This cannot be right. And you look it through and you see all the deductions, taxes, and then you see this other line and they don't call it child support. I think they just say Maryland State something. I can't remember. It's like the state gets to it, right?
Right.
But the reality of, hey, this is going to be you for the foreseeable future. And I was like, yo, wait a minute, what am I going to do? And so that's when, it's like a lot of us, you snap it to, I've got to get another job or jobs. Mm-hmm. So now it's, you don't have that face-to-face time with your kid. And this is not blaming ladies or moms who have to take that step. It's just a reality, dudes, that, hey, if you, like my dad used to say, if you pick up one end of the stick, you pick up the other end. And so it's just a consequence of, hey, if it doesn't work out, these are some of the things that you can experience. But that, hey, now it's multiple jobs. So it's time away from the kids.
Right.
And then I'm given 20, 30, 40, 50 more hours of time and energy just so I can survive and have a little extra, for the kids. And so it really, I think that hit me with the reality of, hey, I made some decisions here which weren't good decisions. And now here's the come up, right? And so a lot of times as men, we can make sad decisions in the moment and then have no concept of the ripple effect of that for many, many years, if not decades. $2 paycheck was the second.
Man, this goes towards, like, is it even worth cashing at that point? Like, it's like, what do you do with it? What did you do? What did you do with it?
Cashing.
You go cash it?
You might need that. That might be a bus fare. That might be, hey, I just need to grab a little sandwich at McDonald's. I don't care if it's my whole paycheck.
Right. Or, hey, $2 back in the day get you a couple gallons of gas.
A couple gallons of gas to get you to work the bar $20 from somebody.
Right.
Bread. You really changes the economics. But that's one of the fallouts if you find yourself in a situation where you're a baby daddy and it gets to the legal system. So my last one talks about, hey, how we can make decisions when our kids are young, but we really don't get the full effect of that until many, many years down the road. If not, again, decades down the road. And so the last story is about Diner. And Diner is about a conversation that I had with my grown daughter. She was probably early 20s, but I had left her life in terms of being in the house every day with her mom, probably 15 years before that. Almost a decade and a half has passed, and we're in this diner, and we're in the diner because our relationship was really fractured. And, we decided to meet to try to, hash some things out. And so at this meeting, this diner in a college town near where we live, she basically spilled her heart and her guts about the impact of me leaving, getting remarried, having other kids, the impact that had on her, because she was my first daughter. And since she was a little girl, and there was periods of time where she didn't want to talk to me. She's starting to date boys. You got opinions about the boys, and she's like, you don't have a right to have an opinion. Or I've relegated you to third string, way down on the bench. You're lucky you're in the dugout, Dad. Like that kind of vibe. And so that had been happening for several years, and then, kind of culminated this discussion. But during the discussion in the middle of this diner, she just completely broke down. That kind of heaving that a woman has when she is just torn down, snot dripping, can't catch her breath in the middle of dinner time in this diner. And it hit me finally about the level of pain that some of my decisions had caused her. And there was nothing I could do. I couldn't walk back to divorce. I couldn't walk back some of the rash decisions that I made. And then it was like the weight of that was just hitting me for the first time, and I could see it, and I was ready to receive it for the first time. And so now, because we had that decision, the silver lining is that was really a watershed event in our relationship. We refer back to that conversation. As a matter of fact, we celebrate, that happened on the 16th of, I think, October. And so on the 16th, we call one another, we text and say happy 16th, because it reminds us of when we kind of broke through that veil of like tension and hurt that's in between us and bitterness, and kind of moved to the other side. Didn't fix it right away, but it just put us in a different posture where we were both kind of like working at the thing, solving the thing together. So the diner was, it really, it cemented in my head, John, just what a heavy role we have in our kids' lives. And sometimes when we're making bad decisions, we neglect to understand just how much weight we have in our kids' lives. So,
in that moment, there's a lot of accountability and a responsibility that has to take place from your perspective.
Sure.
I think one of the things that, I have struggled at times, you may have struggled at times with, and people in general struggle at times with, is taking that accountability in those moments. Because like the tendency is to go, well, your mom, this occurred, like where you're explaining things that really cannot be justified.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just like, I got to eat it all. I take it all in. Yeah. So I commend you for sitting there and eating the glass. Yeah. Right? The glass that you broke.
And, I wish it was just me or it just kind of came to something. But, we'll talk about this later, about the importance of having particularly men around you who can kind of speak wisdom into your ear. Maybe they've navigated it. Maybe they just have, lived a long time wisely. And they're like, hey, you might not go down this path, or hey, this is what I would recommend you do in this situation. Right. And so it was probably a combination of that, probably, my own growth, her growth, that allowed us to have that moment where I didn't do that tendency to deflect or defend or minimize, hey, it's not so bad. I'm all right. All that would have been devastating. Yeah. But fortunately, I was able to keep my mouth shut. Yeah. And really, like you said, own it. And just all I could tell her was, I am really sorry. And I blew that. I don't have any other words except I'm really sorry. So those three stories, the toy story, the $2 paycheck, and the diner, really just encapsulate just some of the challenging and painful roads you have to travel as a baby dad. There's some light at the end of the tunnel if you make good next dad moves. Don't push in and double down on bad decisions.
Right.
So we'll get into those in later episodes. So
yeah.
All right, man. So
yeah,
your turn, bro.
All right, here we go. Well, I'm gonna start off with my life story.
There you go.
All right. So I had literally just split with my BM, my first BM. Probably about a week we were apart. My daughter at the time is just about 2.
Wow.
Right? So very young, up hustling, doing some things in regards to a side job that I created for myself. I'm doing that, getting things done, and I'm super excited as that's coming to a conclusion, because I know I got to drive about an hour and a half from one side of the state, basically to the other side of the state to pick her up. So I'm super excited. So I'm on 95, I'm cruising, they tend to be a little hectic, a little crazy, and I'm one of them at that moment because I'm so excited to get down there to see her. And the phone rings, and it's her mother. And I'm like, logistics. Maybe she wants to meet somewhere different. Yeah. Maybe the time has altered by a half hour. Right. I'm running a little behind. I'm at the store. It's a conversation. I mean, we about an hour from pickup time. Why would anything change, right? She picks up the phone, or I pick up the phone, and she goes, a little small talk, and then all of a sudden, you can't come get her. Excuse me? Yeah, you can't take her today. You can't take her today. And in that moment, there's like some thoughts run through your head. Dark thoughts, dark places, no light, right? And, you're juggling these emotions that have been elicited through the situation. And all right, I got to stay cool. But I got to stay cool. That side, it gets tossed out the window. It got tossed out on 95. So we're going back and forth, da 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 da. And eventually she's like, here, talk to my mother. Why I got to talk to your mother? Okay, let's go. Me and her mother going back and forth. That's the grandmother of my child, right? We're going back and forth. She's like, talk to my husband. I'm like, who else I got to talk to? Like, I'm coming to see my daughter. I'm coming to take my daughter with me. And he's like, John, no, you're not doing it. During that conversation with him, which I even hesitate to call a conversation because of the intensity of the back and forth, was the realization that I was no longer in control of when I got to see my child. That realization is heavy. It is so heavy. Now I'm being told, right, whether it was right or wrong in the situation is irrelevant. It was the fact that I'm being told by someone else that I can't see my child, as if I'm some type of criminal, when the only act in that situation that led up to that was a split up between me and her mother. And that really hits you. As if, man, if you've experienced that, know what that feeling's like, whether it's the judge or another man telling you that. There's really no way to, I don't know what that word is, no way to process that in a logical, intellectual way, right? Because this is my kid. You can't tell me when I can see my kid. So that hit me like a ton of bricks, and it really encapsulated the situation as a whole, what I had done, where I had put myself. It was painful. Looking back, I can see the reasoning behind it. They were fearful that I would take my child at that time because there was no court order in place.
Okay. All right, because it was so new.
It was so new, yeah. There was no court order in place saying this or that.
Yeah.
So if I had her, then I could go file, and then I could restrict them, or specifically her mother, from seeing the child. So then we were in so they were fearful of that. So they did what they did, whether it was right or wrong. I'm not here to say at this moment. And they did what they thought was right.
Right.
And I can say that, right? I thought it was wrong.
Right.
But I understand now why they did that.
Yeah.
But in that moment, no.
What would you say helped you? I mean, I think I kind of know the answer, but what helped you, at that moment? So you're feeling that intense anger, you got your baby mom, then you got this other layer, and then an additional layer, her dad.
Yeah.
And so, each time a new person gets on the phone, I'm sure that intensity in you is being dialed up.
Absolutely.
So what helped you to walk it back, or, hey, what would you recommend for a guy who's in that situation where it is fresh?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's literally hang up the phone. Like, all right, hey, listen, I'm getting a little emotional, right? This conversation is getting a little intense.
Right.
Let me hang up and remove myself from the situation. Right. I think that's the answer to a lot of intense situations. Yeah. Let me remove myself for a moment, process what's going on, and see if I can come back more calm, more under control.
Right.
It's just removing ourselves from those intense situations. If we know we don't have the ability in that moment to redirect our emotions or to mute our emotional responses to a level that allows us to come off respectfully.
Yeah.
Right? That's it. That's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Like when you're first time ever experiencing something and you didn't know it was coming and it's intense.
Yeah.
There was no way in that moment that I could have ever hung up the phone and been like, because I needed to say what I needed to say. Right. So, but yeah, just try to remove yourself from those situations as best as possible.
Very tough to do in real time. So appreciate you sharing that, man.
Yeah.
That's a hard story.
It was a tough one, for sure. Situation that, it was a lesson learned, though. Lesson learned.
No doubt.
Well, maybe not so much, as we'll dive into later on. Maybe not so much.
This will get our hero story.
Sometimes the lesson has to be taught a couple times so the information can be retained. But moving on, my second story is it's called the Uber story. I just got hit with child support. All right, and I was like, oh man, let me find a second job, a legit second job. So no more like side hustling. Well, I still did the side hustle thing, but I was like, let me get a second job that really can pay for what I'm about to be hit with.
Right.
So at that time, Uber was just like really starting out. So they had all these great bonuses. So if you drive 20 rides, you get a $200 bonus. You drive 30 rides, you get a $300 bonus. I was like, yo, I can do this in one night, right? I can do all these rides. And so I'm driving Uber multiple times at night, going to work in the morning. You know what that's like, right?
No.
You work in one job until 2, 3 a.m. You getting up for the second job at 6, 7 a.m. and doing it over and over again.
Years.
Those times, man, I can remember walking in to my full-time job and just being like a zombie.
Yeah.
literally a zombie.
Yeah.
And I didn't even drink coffee at that time. So I don't know. I don't know how I survived. I don't. But to bring this a little more full circle was the fact that, so the first CS payment was due, and we had settled outside of court. The court signed off on everything, but we settled outside of court. So I paid her directly, whether it was check, money order, or straight cash in some moments. So at this first time, it was straight cash. So I remember showing up at her house, straight cash. Oh, yeah.
It's different. It's in your hand. It is either way, but it's when you gotta.
I had this cash in my hand. I was like, feeling good. I had busted my ass as a man, working crazy hours, doing all kinds of stuff, getting this extra dough.
Right.
And I'm feeling good about myself.
Right.
I go down to her house, my BM's house, and her mother's there. She's there, and I was like, oh, it's time to fork it over, man. And in that moment, I realized that it wasn't my money no more. Like, it was like, I spent who knows how many hours, maybe an extra 30, 35 hours that week working to get to this point, and I just gave it all away. And this isn't saying that my daughter wasn't deserving. This wasn't saying that money wasn't needed. But the feeling of just going from this extra amount of money to absolutely nothing. And then I go, I don't know why I even said it in that moment. I go, well, there go all my Uber money. Her mother looks at me like, and?
See you next month. Next week, whatever.
Right?
Hey, man.
The house, and I'm just like, damn, I gotta do this again. I gotta do this again next month. Oh, man. Yeah, that child support hits different, man.
Yeah, it is. That first one is like, your life has shifted.
It shifts.
You are no longer in the financial HOV.
It makes me think of I'm not trying to get political. I'm just referencing something right here. So please don't ask me. It's when Kamala Harris was talking about the cloud when she was giving that speech about software and stuff in the cloud and say all that stuff. She's like, the cloud. Before you actually pay child support, it's just in the cloud. It's in the cloud. It's just up there. And then it's like,
yes, I said 2, 3 of these you don't want to mess around with. Want to mess around with NBA, IRS, and CS. 3 of them be like, you got to come see us and so forth.
Boy, on no time. Ain't that the truth, man? Yeah. But grateful for the lesson.
And the lesson was, okay, so the second time you had to catch it, what was it? What was the lesson you finally got? Yeah.
Oh, man. Dude, that was a lesson of, man, there's so many lessons there. A lesson that your money's not your money. A lesson that, our decisions in life don't have immediate consequences sometimes. Like, those consequences come down the road. And when they come, I feel like the longer you have to wait for a consequence, maybe the worse it is. Like,
yeah, no doubt.
That's that. Looking now, again in that moment, I don't know if that lesson hit.
Right.
I don't know if that lesson hit.
Right.
It was just pain and anguish and maybe a little anger, but it wasn't the lesson. Maybe.
Yeah.
And because those lessons didn't hit, I had put myself in another situation. I like to call this one the day of reckoning.
Okay.
So I'm at that. At this time, I've moved on from my first PM, completely separated. We've worked through things. I wouldn't say we have a cordial relationship, but it's a relationship, right? Yeah. Okay. So there's a steady time when I'm seeing my daughter now. I'm paying child support every month, doing that thing. Also paying daycare costs as well, all right? Because that's what we do. Yeah. Insurance costs, that's what we do. And I had started another relationship. I wasn't ready for another relationship. No, I wasn't ready for another relationship.
But hey, it was there.
It was there. And I was a willing participant. Hey, so eventually me and this young lady have a child. And eventually that relationship doesn't work out. Because why? Because I wasn't ready to be in a relationship. And when it doesn't work out, there's this chaotic day when we're separating. She's going this direction, I'm going this direction. And amidst that chaos, she was doing what she felt was right in that moment. And she takes my daughter, jumps in the car and drives off. And in that moment, I remember her vehicle driving off and I barely walk back into the house and I just fall to my knees. And I'm like, damn, I did it again. I did it again. It's happening again.
Yeah.
And it's because of these decisions I make. So I'm on the ground, literally on the ground. And similar to your daughter, Ryan, snot nose, everything, man. And I had never cried like that in my life. Like, I can remember my father passing away and being by his side at the bed. I didn't cry then,
Wow.
right? I was just like, everyone else around me was crying, but I felt like I had to be the rock. In that moment, I wasn't anything but a rock. I was completely gone. And I couldn't even get myself up off the ground.
Wow.
You know, I'm like laying in a puddle of snot and tears. Finally, maybe after about 7 to 10 minutes of laying there, something just like, next best dad move.
Yeah.
Right? Next best dad move. What am I going to do? How am I going to get better? So this can't happen again. And I think it's literally every lesson up until that point finally made sense, right? All that information that I had been collecting because of bad decisions, that was like the cumulization of everything, right? And I got up, or someone got me up, right? And just went to work on myself, man. The foundation of that was fitness for me. That provided the discipline that transversed into other areas of my life.
Okay.
So that personal growth,
Right.
you know, I began reading book after book after book after book, found spirituality, and just looked at myself, man, looked inwards and was like, this is not happening again. And it hasn't happened again. And I've been very cautious about the people that come into my life from a romantic aspect,
Right.
from that moment on.
Yeah.
From that, it's been a very arduous and difficult road at times, but a road that I needed to travel.
Sure.
Because if I didn't travel it, I'd be making the same mistakes over again. It needed to be traveled, but yeah.
Yeah, you know, we kid about being slow learner sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, when you finally catch the lesson,
Yeah.
you can look back and say confidently, hey, I'm never going to put myself in that position.
Right.
Not saying, hey, there's not temptations or moments of like, I wonder what, but you understand the cost.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how would you sum up like your 3 stories? Like there was one lesson you wanted to drive home. You had the I-95,
Yeah.
the Uber story, right? Day of reckoning. So there's one lesson, one thing you wanted a guy to take away,
Yeah.
you know, from all that. What would it be?
Always look inward. Like, start right now. Like, whatever, like, station you are on the train tracks in life, whatever station you're at, stop right now and look inward. And be completely, authentically honest about who you are, what you've done. Just be completely authentic about that. Like, all right, I suck at this. I'm no good at that. Don't sugarcoat that stuff.
Right.
And find men that'll be like, yeah, you do suck at that. Like, homie, you got 3 BMs.
Yeah. Hey.
Homie, you got 3 divorces. Homie, whatever the deal is, someone that'll shoot that shit to you.
Yeah.
And look inwards. And then like, all right, how am I going to fix this? How am I going to fix this? Because this is not working in life. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Inward.
Inward. You know, hey, you got 3 BMs. Like my past used to say, after 2 divorces is you. Like common issue.
Yeah.
So you got to be, and I think that's part of our journey is like being more intentionally introspective.
Yeah.
But not staying there because you can get to a dark place if you just wallow in, you know, the mistakes you make.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, what's the next move I can make?
Right.
With what I know to do there. You know, it could be a text. It could be, you know, book you read. It could be, hey, I'm going to go to the gym for the first time. But just level up, get 1% better in some areas, a man and as a father. And like those wins, and you find yourself a different person after a while.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I don't actually have 3 BMs. I'm still holding on to 2.
Want you to have no BS, gentlemen.
Absolutely not.
We know there's cats out there with our story.
Yeah.
I'm holding level at the holding still at 2 too.
There's some people out there, Tyreek Hillen, right?
God bless.
Nick Cannon.
You got the finances to.
You can it, I guess it's a different story. Not that it's wrong.
No, that is one way to go.
Yeah.
But
Hey, and at the end of the day, you know what? It's just to put a bow on that. A quote from my favorite coach, Mike Tomlin, and that is very simple. No excuses, no explanations. No excuses, no explanations, man.
very good. So, guys and ladies, if you happen to be watching, we hope you found some meaning. Maybe you found yourself in some of these stories.
Yeah.
Maybe you're not at the point where you can laugh about the circumstances that you're in. But we assure you, if you hang with us, you'll find that next rung on the ladder that you can hold on to as climb from where you are to the kind of dad and partner that you want to be. So stay tuned for upcoming episodes, and we can't wait to get back with you guys. And until then, I'm Kelly.
And I'm John.
Let's go. Game time.